Well, hi, good morning. It's October 22nd, and I thought maybe this radio wasn't going to make it back to my bench, but here it is. And the reason is, I think I might know the cause of the weird tuning effect. Nothing surprising here, really, except I overlooked a possible cause. You know, I hardly even overlooked it. A couple of times it came to my mind what could be going on with this capacitor, which has this weird tuning effect where it's almost as if the dial you're tuning across shifts left and right. Of course it doesn't. I mean, the dial's a fixed piece of glass, but it seems that way because if you tune in this direction, all the stations are here, but if you tune in this direction, they've all shifted over a little bit. And this, you know, the last stage of tuning, of course, you do a lot of this, and it literally makes the station you're trying to chase jumping back and forth. How could that be? So I thought I nailed the problem when I discovered what looked like more interference in one of the tuning plates over here. And I even convinced myself afterwards that I had succeeded. But later it became apparent that the same effect is still there. It doesn't make the radio impossible to use, but it makes it very annoying to tune and very hard to tune precisely because you can't back up. So you have to tune in and stop and leave it. So what could the problem be? So it came to my mind when I was doing this. Maybe I won't be able to see it at that distance. Can you see? You can't see it, but you can hear it. The rotor is moving up and down. Right away, when I discovered that, the first thing I think of is the bearing is loose. But unfortunately, I didn't carry on with that idea. I was doing something a little bit different. I wanted to finish off whatever it was. I think twice I stopped and was doing this. Both times I thought, the bearing is loose, but off I went to do other things. Well, why didn't I think of it later? Why didn't it come up on my list of things to check? Well, can you see the bearing? You can't see the bearing in this radio. It's hidden from view behind this can. If I tip it like this, you still can't see it. Well, you can see a little tiny piece of it there. This is an adjustable bearing that's adjusted normally once, probably during the manufacture of the capacitor itself. Maybe after it's all installed in the radio, but probably just during the manufacture of the capacitor. There's a moment where the bearings are tightened up. If this is the capacitor, and the rotating plates are on a rotor shaft, the rotor shaft has ends. One end is supported with ball bearings. That's the business end up here. Almost always supported with ball bearings. There's no other way to support it. Well, you could support it in a sleeve, but usually they like to put ball bearings in there. The other end, though, is done differently. The back end here, on the shaft that these plates are attached to, basically ends in a point. Okay, my finger's not really pointed, but you can imagine there's a point there. And the point is mated up with a screw. So you have a screw this way and the point that way. And the screw can be adjusted back and forth. The end of the screw is dished in, so the point finds the center. And you just tighten this up just enough to hold it in place. You don't want to go too tight. That's going to cause problems with tuning. You don't want it to be too loose, because then the point will wander around in the cup shape on the end of the screw. There it is, I think. So, how to get that way? Well, there's a chance it's been that way all along. Excuse me, but I doubt that. Work itself loose over time? Well, the screw has a locking nut. It's very hard to see it. You can't see it in the camera right now, but we'll take a close look at it in a minute. It has a locking nut. Should lock the position of the screw. The screw should never move. The whole frame of the capacitor, changing dimensions, these things are built pretty rugged. There's a lot of metal in here. What if somebody did something really rugged to the capacitor and some kind of rugged operation was performed on it? Could that have caused a slight reshaping of the capacitor frame or something more. Well, maybe. And who did that? I did that. I did that to free this up. These ideas came back to my mind yesterday in an email exchange with the owner of the radio, who is quite happy with the situation right now, but made a comment about what he thought it might be happening. What the heck is that? Oh boy. Well, there's a weird thing. Okay, well, another chapter. Once I finish this chapter. So, but in discussing this with the owner, excuse me, yeah, I remember. Oh my God, I never ever tried adjusting the rear bearing on the capacitor. So that's what I'm doing today, and I have the feeling that's going to solve it. Now, why would it have this weird tuning effect? This sort of hysteresis kind of thing. Well, I'm figuring if it's loose, okay, let me do it this way. I'll come back to that. So here's the end of the shaft with the point on it, and here it is in the cup. Okay, and instead of being pushed into the center of this dish cup, it's loose and it's actually dropped down until it encounters the end of the dished part of the screw. Now it's down there. Now you start turning it. And it's going to crawl up. It's going to crawl up one way or the other. It's not going to crawl far, but it's going to move to some degree. It's going to rotate and climb a little bit. That's going to cause a shifting in the overall position of the capacitor, a very slight shifting. And that slight shifting can be throwing off the local oscillator frequency, causing the radio to appear to be tuning in different places. Well, I guess it is tuning in different places. That's my theory. Now I stated the whole thing. I'm ready to get egg on my face while I try to fix this. Obviously, this is a bit of a challenge. Normally, or quite commonly, these capacitors are completely accessible from the back here. You can get right at them, just stick a screwdriver in, and away you go. This thing's in the way, and I already know I can't remove this. So, some challenges. Why don't we take a closer look at it? And then I'm going to go drink some coffee and see if I can come up with a good idea on how to approach this. Okay, so there's the screw with the nut on it. There's the bearing side of it. Let me move this capacitor here. Look at it's so obvious now. It's so, it's obvious when you see. Okay, so we have to drive this screw in. I may have to loosen off the lock nut, or I may be able to drive it even with the lock nut sitting there. Perhaps it's backed itself out somehow. I don't know how that would happen, but that's what I have to get at, and I've got almost no clearance to get in there and do it. I mean, how would I even, I'm going to have to do the, yeah, I'm going to have to go drink coffee. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Drink coffee and just think about this a little bit before I make an attempt at it. Okay, so you can see I have a camera positioned here, looking down in it. We'll look through that camera. I think the first step is to take a close look at things. Well, there is something in the view of this camera that is interesting that I want to point out. And I had mentioned the method of grounding that has to be employed for the rotor part of the capacitor. There has to be some kind of sliding contact somewhere in here. And here it is. It actually showed up in this camera shot. I couldn't find it the last time I looked. It's this thing here. I'm just touching it now with the screwdriver. Pretty rusty screwdriver. So that little tang, which is coming out and hitting this round plate here, is coming off of the frame of the capacitor here. So it's connecting the frame to the rotating, here, let me tune a little bit. Oop, wrong knob. So that's the grounding contact, not much to it. And look at the color of the metal. It's got some kind of corrosion product on it. Kind of wonder if that's all down along where that's running. So that could cause some effects too. This won't be the only one. There'll be a couple of these in this capacitor. They won't rely on just one contact. But these things can get dirty and need to be cleaned. I'm looking to see if we can actually see that when I was describing how the rotor might crawl up and down a bit. I'm looking if we can see it, and I can't see anything like that. I mean, we're talking about micro movements here. Okay, so getting back to the screw, let me just fix the focus here a little bit. You know, if the screw were easily accessed, if that IF transformer wasn't there, I would stick a screwdriver right in the screw and attempt to turn it without loosening the lock nut. It wouldn't put too much force on, but I would give that a go. But I can't do that. I can't get in that screw and do anything too serious. So I think the first stage here is to loosen off the lock nut, and then it should be fairly easy to tighten up the screw. The challenge will be tightening up the lock nut and keeping the screw positioned or turned, to the degree that it needs to be turned. Any improvement here is welcome. So can we make it worse doing this? I don't think so. I think with a little bit of care, I'm pretty much guaranteed to tighten it up. Let's see the movement again in the capacitor. I'm just grabbing the rotor. Yeah, you can see it moving right in there. Could it be there's something broken inside there? I don't think so. Okay. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad I got onto this now. Better late than never, right? So we're going to have to fish up a couple of tools that can fit in the slot here. You see it's about a finger width. And I can get that nut loose and tighten it up again later. Yeah, so I'm going to look for some good tools to use here. Okay, poked around with a few things. This is the guy who's going to do it. I've got him adjusted for the right size. Let's go in there now and see what happens here. At least I think I have it adjusted to the right size. Okay, it's on. There we go. Okay, applying pressure. Oh my gosh, it's turning as easy as can be. The lock was loose. Really? Get on here. Very awkward getting this to fit in there. Okay, I'm going to use the tool backwards here. Oh yeah, it's loose. Nah, you know what I wasn't able to observe was the screw turning. Almost certainly the screw turned. Okay, if the screw turned, then this is even looser now. Oh, I would say it is looser. So should I have been tightening that without turning the screw? Would that do it? Just tighten the lock nut. Well, tightening the lock nut pulls the screw back. I'm sure I've got to try to turn that screw. Yes, it's still got quite a bit of tightness to it. Now how am I going to turn that screw? From over here. Well, the camera. There's the slot. So, boy, you can see the nut. It's right off. Is that whole thing moving now? No, the screw must be going through threads on the frame of the capacitor. Well, the screw is in a perfect position for me to get a hold of it. How can I know if, I'm going to get another tool here, a lighter pair of pliers. Now that the nut is loose, I can probably put some thinner pliers on it, and that will allow me to see if the screw is turning. Let's see what happens here. Kind of get an idea. I'm just going to fix the focus a little bit better before I do this. In there. Trying to keep an eye on the screw slot. And let me just turn the lights up in my shop here. Okay, looks like the screw is not moving. Excellent. Now, it's in a position where I can get a screwdriver into the slot and actually move the screw forward. They have some special angle screwdrivers, but I'm guessing they're too big for this. Okay. Turning the screw inwards. Oh, it's not moving. Ah, the screw may be frozen in there. Oh no. I'm using a very light screwdriver here. Let me try a more powerful one. See if I can get a bite. No. Oh, maybe. I don't think that's gonna. No, that's not going in far enough. Let me go back to this one. Well, that's great. Okay, screw tightening would be downwards. Oh, there it goes. Well, isn't this something? Okay, now, did the capacitor get tightened up yet? I don't think there's any play in it. Right? It's much less play, but there's still some. Okay, we're going to tighten a little more. So the nut is running into the frame, so it's getting tight that way. Wow, that's pretty good. I'm absolutely sure here I'm getting it. Still play, still play. Tighten more. Okay, I've hit the end of the run here. Well, it's a lot better. That's for sure. I can still feel a touch of play. So let's see if I can come in from the other side here. It's going to wreck the camera shot probably. Okay, come in. Can I get into the slot here? I'm really lucky this screwdriver fits in there nicely. A little further. That's as far as it wants to go this way. Oops. I've got a thinner screwdriver. Maybe it'll go deeper this way. Okay, I have to put up with a bad camera shot just now. This way. Come around here. Come all the way around here. This camera's not helping me any. I'm just doing this so you can kind of watch the action. Well, forget it. We'll just switch to the long range camera here. And you know what I'm doing, so put that screw in. Put the screwdriver in. There we go. Good. Turning. Oh. Okay, I think the nut has gone tight. I'm going to try to loosen the nut and more. I think I may have adjusted only one other capacitor in all the years I've been doing this. I can't remember ever doing another one. Now I can't see the screw. Hopefully it didn't move. Doesn't want to turn. Where are we at here? It's way better. Still something there. Where exactly is that? Now that might not be the pivot point here. That's so if I try to move the capacitor up and down, if there's any movement, it has to be in the bearing. If I move it this way, there can be some play, especially in that I don't know what to call it, the anti-backlash gearing system. That's probably what that is. In fact, I can see it. I can see one backlash gear is moving, the other one isn't. I think we've done it. I think we've done it. Now let me tighten it up. That's going to pull the screw back, but it shouldn't pull much. Okay, that's pretty tight. Can you still tune the radio? Oh yeah. Wow. So, I think I got the problem fixed. I think I understand the problem exactly for what it really was. And I think I could have figured that out a lot earlier. Now we got, what is this doing here? Well, I've soldered in the speaker wires. I don't really want to unsolder them. I'm just going to try to flip the radio right here and see if we can see what the heck is a loose wire doing down there. What did I do? Oh, that's the test capacitor I put in, and I left it in. Oh boy. Okay, this is where you break something accidentally. Of course, you're not going to break it on purpose, are you? Well, I can get this out of here. Oh, it's just clipped in. Oh my gosh, that's been... Oh, I'm glad I didn't send this back to the owner. I commented in my email that I seldom put the chassis screws in right away when I put something back together. I usually put it back together by leave the chassis screws off for a few days because of this kind of stuff. Wow, that was a bad mistake I was about to make. Well, great. I think it's great, you know. The journey may be a little messy, but if you get to the destination, that's great. Okay, I'm going to clean up my fingerprints and put this back together. We'll listen to it and see if I solved it. Fantastic. Well, oh, who's here? Is that you, Peanut? Yes, that's Peanut. He wants to go out. Okay, beautiful day today, going up to 20 degrees here. Holy smoke, sunshine, fantastic. Okay, let's give this a go. Now I've got my signal generator running behind the radio here. You can't see it. It's at 100 megahertz, plus or minus a little bit. And that should give us a chance to, if we can't use a station, that'll give us a chance to really check into this weird hysteretic problem. Yes, causing hysteria in me. Okay, volume down. Here we go. FM. Now, yesterday I think I mentioned one of the lights isn't working. It is working. Both lights are on. They're just not particularly bright. So I guess the idea is during the daytime you can read this. It's only at night in a dark room where you need the light, and then you don't want too much light at that point. Okay, I also have a close-up camera ready to look right at the pointer very closely here. If the radio works. Oh, we don't have it on full power. Let's try that. Okay, so you can hear the tone from the signal generator even there. Let me tune this way. What's happening now? The tuning is stopping here. Come on. What have I done now? Oh, jeepers, come on. How can you do this to me? Okay, the weirdness is gone, first off. As for the tuning range, I'm sure that's just some minor thing here. I'll put the camera right in front. Now, it's not perfectly easy to see the pointer. Oh, it is pretty easy now. The light's on. Any funny business here? That's the spot. I would say right there. Right there. Right there. Fantastic. Well, what's happening? Okay, down the volume. What is happening with the tuning getting blocked now? Oh, could it be the capacitor plates again? Right there. Just comes to a halt. Oh, radio, please. Every time I think I'm done. So I'm looking in the back here for anything that might be restricting its motion. There's really only one thing I see. That's again going back to this weird piece of metal here that I've never fully understood what is going on with this. Let's put a little more light on it here. This brass piece, it appears to be crashing into the frame there. I can't quite see though. So let me grab my camera. Where'd it go? Where did my camera go? Oh, I forgot. I've got it up on my camera crane here. That's not going to work for me though. Okay, with the radio operating, I'm going to shove this camera in here. Discovered this camera, if you're touching this metal piece, and maybe even this aluminum piece around here, if this is aluminum, looks like painted plastic to me, but you ground yourself, or you can get a shock. Been there, done that. Okay, so let's switch to this camera. So now there's that brass piece, which just seems totally out of place. And there you can see the other side sticking out. Is it hitting the it would appear to be hitting the frame there. Can't really see for sure. Let me bring in a little more light. I just blast the light here in my shop. Still can't see. Okay, flashlight. Don't forget, this radio's on, Jim. Don't forget. Don't forget. There's a lot of focus here. Okay, let me set the camera. Ah. Don't fall in there. Just stay here where you're nice. Oh, what was that? I didn't like that. Like that. Sound. Okay, I don't need the radio on. Radio off. Turn the radio off. You know what? I've broken out into a sweat here too, because I was just out on my deck setting it up so we can be on it today because it's going to be so warm. I'll be outside, and I've overheated myself. Okay, back to trying to set this up. Yeah. Camera comes with a strain relief little clip here. Stick it there. Try to put this right in where it's looking right in at it. What do we see now? Oh, this is a good shot. Okay, let's see if we can focus this. So if this is banging in. Okay, let's see if we can get a little more light on it. It sure looks like it, doesn't it? I'm going to tune the radio. Well, what is this all about? Is it supposed to just make it through there? Did I somehow? No, I couldn't have. Adjusting that piece at the back generate this problem? Oh my gosh. Well, what? Okay, what is that piece? Anyway, what is that brass piece? It's always... I noticed it right at the start and kind of wondered, what is that all about? guess now I have to figure it out, what it's all about, and figure out what to do about it. Son of a gun. Okay, okay. Now I'm gonna stop for a bit and de-sweat. Okay, the mysterious brass bar that I've been looking at the whole time I've done this radio and wondered, what is this for? And when you tune the radio, well, at least one way, it travels with the gear set. Well, is it supposed to be the stopper? Stop the turning? If that's the case, it's no, I can't imagine that's a stopper. So how come I could do this, turn this left and right all this time, and now I can't? Is it because of like a micromillimeter clearance over here that disappeared when I tightened up the shaft? I can't imagine that. So what is this piece here for? There's no time in the process that I've done on this radio that this thing has been relocated somehow. Nothing like that has happened. So it's exactly as it was, except now it's interfering. Did it slide around somehow? I need to get a closer look at this thing. Try to figure out what the heck why is it in there? Why is it like that? Who thought this idea up? I did notice this weird bend in it also. It's something that's supposed to be stationary, and unfortunately it's stuck to the gear, and it's just traveling with the gear by accident. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. How is it even held in there? Is it fused to the brass gear? Well, having it operate as a stopper that makes some sense. It's a little overdone though. A pretty big brass bar. I guess they use brass because it's non-magnetic. Well, maybe it doesn't have the electrical characteristics that would interfere with things. I don't see anywhere where it's attached. Okay, what's it doing down around the shaft? It doesn't really go around the shaft. We can't move it that way. Just try turning it the way it's blocked. Oh, it's blocked the other way. This should move. Okay. Stationary shot here. Okay, I'm going to play with the focus just a little bit. I'm looking for rivets, signs of anything of how it's held in. It's got a shape to it there. I can't be sure of anything I'm seeing there. Well, if it's a stopper, then this upper end we're looking at will also crash into the frame at the moment the capacitor reaches the end of its travel. Actually, the capacitor itself usually blocks itself. Oh my gosh, that's what it seems to be doing. Okay. We end up bending these capacitor plates again by accident. Not careful. We're right back to square one. Okay, so the capacitor is just closing, well, it's closing there. This appears to have cleared the edge of the, I mean, unless there's a stopper bump down there I haven't seen yet. It appears to be close. It's just really tricky to get the camera and the light in here. Yeah, there's clearance there, right? Okay, tune the radio a bit. I'd say it's clearing. It's not. That's not the stopper there. The stopper is the capacitor itself, I think. Like these plates come so far, then something bangs into something, and is this now it's coming up the other side here. Am I mistaken about it? Sorry for the camera work. It's not. Let me just shave that off. I can't get at it. I can't get it up to the top. Is it really banging in? Am I on the money here? I need to shine the light up from below. That's really what I need. There is no below. There's no below. What about like that? You know, it could be coming really close but not actually touching. Oh my gosh. Okay, this isn't working. I'm going to try look directly with a magnifier. Now the problem is I'm going to get my head in there and everything. This is not the right way to use a magnifier. Let me swing this out a little further. I need a really good shot. There. Right there. Tune the radio now. I'm not sure it's touching. I'm going to have to take everything apart here. I don't want to. Yeah, with just a little more angle. Let's try that. Well, I can see it directly with my eyes. Push a feeler down there. Is there something else going on? It's a pretty sudden stop. Looking at everything else in here. Let me move the capacitor manually here with a little bit of assist from the dial. You can definitely hear thunk, thunk. Definitely is something very solid stopping it. What else could it possibly be than this brass thing? What is it in there for? Is it rotated somehow? I don't have any idea why it's there, so I'm really hesitant to get brutal on it. If I'm not careful, I'm going to bend these plates and we'll be right back to square one too. What is different? The only thing different here is I tightened this up. You're going to try to tell me somebody loosened this off once to overcome this problem? I can't imagine it. Can't imagine that. Boy, out of the pan into the fire. Let's just go all the way this way again. Yeah, I'm quite certain the other end is clearing. Cannot be absolutely sure that this brass rod is what's interfering. And it has to be something quite solid. There's nothing else in here that is solid except for that. What would it be there for if it's not a stopper? No, we're right in the middle of the band here. We're not at the end. And I've seen this go to the end before. Hey, how do you like that? You know what I think it was? I don't know. So here's this brass piece again. What? Is it these plates once again? Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Do you ever wonder why it is I'm so cautious when I'm working on these radios? It's exactly because of this kind of problem, where you're doing something and accidentally things get worse. That's these plates here. And you get yourself into a really bad situation. Okay, that's the end, this way. Right by. It has to be plate interference. I think that's the only other thing that could really give us such a sudden stop. Do another test here. I think I've got it, but I want to do another test. So I'm going to look for a short. Oops. I'm going to look for a short between the plates. Rather than turn the radio on and find out that way, I'm going to try to do it with my own meter here. Just get a couple clip leads. Clip. Oh, somebody at my door. Okay, back to work here. Let's put this on a ground point in the chassis. And so in a sense, I've connected this to the rotating plates. And the other thing I want to do is connect the other one to my clip lead. Run out of here with it. Get another one. Here we go. I want to clip this onto the rotating plates, or I'm sorry, the stator plates. Okay, I can get one set here. Remember, the radio's not on, so we're on one set of plates. We should see open circuit. Okay, and we need to do a little check here. Let me round this. There we go. Okay, so now we just tune through the range, watch the ohm meter. Are there any shorts? This is one side. This is the undamaged. I hate to use the word damaged. Undamaged side of the capacitor, and I don't think there's going to be anything. Okay, now don't jump to conclusions. In the odd radio, when you tune the capacitor all the way one way, it shorts itself out on purpose. This doesn't look like that though. My gosh. I did this on a whim. Hey, how come it's still doing it? Wait a minute here, what's going on? Yeah, some of these capacitors have a short built into them, so when you tune them all the way to one extreme, they short out. And that's to shut off the radio, basically, because your plan is to play the record player through the same amplifier. And that's the method. Some of these old radios have. I don't think one like this would have that method in it. Instead, this one has the push button switches, and you switch to tape, you interrupt the radio. But there are radios that have shorts built right into the capacitor. What is going on here? Did I? How easy it is to get fooled, at least for me. It's a 0. Well, could it be it's bad grounding of the stator? I just get a good feeling from this. So we managed to see the actual grounding sliding contact. We saw black corrosion around it. Wow, this is terrible. This is worse than the other problems. Maybe I bent the plate a little bit. You know what? I think I did. My monkey business here. I bent one of the plates a little bit. Put that down. I can see it. I can see it for crying out loud. Okay, here we go into another plate bending disaster. I don't think so. Oh, there's another one bent. Somewhere along the lines I bumped this. Probably when I was shaking the capacitor around, I was probably bending these plates by accident. My gosh, this has really been the radio for the tuning capacitor, that's for sure. Okay, lucky I did this test. Oh my gosh. Okay, now the other one. So that's probably the oscillator, but I don't really know. Whoa. There we go. I thought this was going to be like a 3-minute affair this morning. I have the next project here ready to go. Okay, now this is the capacitor, that side that I really messed around with. Oh, you like that? And that side's fine. Fine, except the outside plate is pushed away. It's going to change the overall capacitance of this part of the capacitor a little wee bit. So the radio will not be tuning exactly where it would otherwise, but I am not going to attempt to straighten those plates out because there's a good chance I just end up making the situation much worse. Okay, well, I think we got something done here. Whew. Okay, put it back together. Well, I guess there's another one we can deal with too. So often these radios have rubber parts in them, grommets and things like that, and these things are often under pressure. The typical place is the chassis is screwed down, there's a rubber grommet, and then there's a wooden cabinet. So there's a chunk of rubber in between there. It's keeping the radio up a bit and making it just a little bit independent of the cabinet, like putting a rubber washer in there of some width. These things squeeze down over time and eventually the radio chassis settles a touch lower. What could happen if that happens? Well, one thing is these wheels can start interfering with the cabinet can interfere with these tuning wheels. Listen. Now, I haven't screwed this down. If I screw it down, it's going to push down even harder. So I'm going to do that by hand here. I'm going to lift it up. I'm trying to verify. Is there a sweet spot in there? Not really. Well, what I'm thinking is that right now it might be okay, but when I screw the chassis down and pull it even lower and can even lock these things in. Well, we'll just have to check it out. I can't do much to it. These are not controls you normally operate much anyway. You turn them once and leave them. Grommets. Oh, that might explain it. The grommet's fallen out of place. So here's what I was talking about. It's a rubber piece. So what's this copper doing around it? This is a special one trying to connect the chassis to a metal tin plate that's in there. Right here, aluminum plate. It's not even a plate, it's aluminum foil. And this is to make contact with the foil and provide some shielding at the bottom of the radio to stop the emission of signals and to stop the absorption of signals into the radio in the wrong places. So here's the other grommet here. Looks good, actually. There's lots of width in it. This one too. These ones have not degraded terribly. They may not be as soft as they once were, but they haven't lost their dimensions. So it's got to be this one. Yeah. Make sure I put it in the right way. That's going to take a little bit of fiddling to get right. Boy, oh boy. It's a radio that just won't quit. Fantastic though. So I think I'm all done at this point, except for another final test. I'm going to screw the chassis in this time. Make sure everything's working right. Fantastic. Okay, got the radio operating here. I'm going to just demonstrate how directional the FM antenna is. So this is tuned to CBC. It's a fairly local FM station. Here's what you get.
Until I filled out his very expensive Arrive Craig app. Sitting in Zone 1, it's Craig Lozano.
Hey, so happy to be back. Love it. Love it.
All right, panel, are you jazzed?
So jazzed.
Super jazzed.
Jazzed wheat. I don't know what to say. I'm ready to be harvested.
All right, then let's start the harvest.
Here we go.
Yeah!
Listen to this headline-making clip, which we have laid over a classic Muddy Waters track.
First of all, I do want to say sorry. We went too far and too fast. I mean, we did go to...
Might get a copyright hit. I don't know.
Made a mistake.
Lots of volume. Where'd all that volume come from?
We went too far and too fast.
That's brilliant. That person was all over the news this week, singing the blues. For a point, who went too far and too fast?
None other than British blues legend, Fish Belly White, Liz Truss.
Fish belly white.
Reuters headline reads, UK Prime Minister Truss says, sorry for mistakes, but I'm sticking around. Channel for a point, after Liz Truss said she was sticking...
Beautiful. Okay, fantastic. Finally. Okay, it's done. I feel good. I feel I got everything I could do to it within reason is done. This wonderful radio is going to be heading home. So, fantastic. A little bit of a tougher journey than I ever expected, but there we go. We made it. That's what counts. Okay, so thanks a lot for watching the whole series on this radio. And I do have the next project here in my shop, and it weighs, I don't know, 60 pounds or something. It's a killer. Okay, well, see you in the next video. Bye.